Hi, this is Sugalya Murugesan from ZSL. Good morning or good afternoon based on your location. Welcome for the webinar titled Give Your Customers a Personalized Online Shopping Experience and Increase Your Sales Leveraging Social Commerce Solution. The speaker for today's session is Bharat Yadla, the Practice Head for Social Commerce and Cloud Integration at ZSL. Bharat will discuss the latest trends and developments in social commerce and how ZSL's SmartPrise Social Commerce helps to retain and acquire new user base and increase the user engagement. Today's presentation will be recorded and posted to the ZSL's TV and webinar page. During the presentation, all participants will be muted. You can submit your questions on the right-hand side of your screen using the chat window. We will answer some of the questions during the Q&A session that follows the presentation and answer any remaining questions offline. With that, I would like to turn the presentation over to Bharat. Welcome, Bharat.
Thanks, Sugalya. Hi, everyone. Morning, afternoon, evening, depending on your location, wherever you are. Again, I'm Bharat Yadla, leading the practice for social commerce and cloud integration for Zilog Systems. Right. So today, when you look at the retail side of the story, right? I mean, there's been a lot of buzz that is going on in terms of the social commerce. Now, what does it mean to every retailer? Right. So that's where when we started looking at it, there are based on different trends. We thought that there is an interesting angle to even giving a personalized shopping experience to the customers and thereby increasing the sales, leveraging the social commerce solution. That's where we came up with a solution, and that's what we just wanted to go ahead and then share some of the thoughts, our insights, and how do you provide personalized shopping experience to your customers. And how our social commerce solution can help your customers. So the topics for today's webinar would be, we'll go ahead and see how the explosion of social media turned the tables on online commerce, and what did it do. So the key thing which is there is from 2004 onwards, when the explosion of social commerce started happening with the Facebook, MySpace, LinkedIn, and various sets of social commerce sites. So what happened is the social media started growing so big, and with that, two things have happened to the retailers. First and foremost thing that has happened to retailers is retailers are not in control of their brands anymore. It's the customers who are controlling the brands, because it's the customers are more closer to the products. The customers are more closer to the to what the products mean to them. And the kind of sharing mechanisms that are coming through, that kind of dictate the whole brand issue for the retailers by the customers. So that kind of spin off two different things. One thing which should spin off is how do the retailers be present, which is like more like being omnipresent where the customers are, which is typically a multi-channel presence, and that's what we're going to discuss today. And the second thing which is there is, every customer, being social media is very aware of the products that the retailers are selling, and that's where the demand is more towards in terms of like how can the shopping experience be more personalized to their own set of needs. And that's what the personal shopping experience come into play. And that's where probably you have seen a lot of trends that are moving in that direction as well. And that's a key ingredient to the social commerce. So these are the two important topics. So we'll just cover those two topics, and also kind of briefly take you through a brief demo of our solution, what we are talking about, and so we can discuss the next steps if you're interested in. So with that said, let me just jump in terms of how the explosion happened in social media and online commerce. Let me share a few insights in that. So if you look at here, right, I mean, Forrester has actually put together a report, though this is a little dated, but it's very relevant to the current date. The era of social conversation that happened in 2009 with the Facebook taking in kind of 100 million mark at that point of time, the key thing which has happened is it's kind of exploded the outreach for the brands and retailers to the customers. And customers suddenly got the control of what the retailers used to have otherwise, right, which is the brands. Now, with that said, what is kind of spin off is like the customers started talking about the products, started talking about a lot about what the products would look like and what the products mean to them, and it was publicly being discussed, and that's where the whole thing started getting into the kind of what I call commerce being dragged into social. So that's what Forrester has actually predicted, that 2011 this year is the start of the social commerce year, and then getting to mature at 2013, which is a very interesting thing. So it just started with that one, but then getting mature at 2013, which personally what we see is more in terms of between 2015, you will see a lot more things that are happening, a lot more things getting mature there at that point of time. Now, the same level, if you look at the market size as well, 2011, Booz and Company has actually predicted that it's going to be a $30 billion market, which is pretty huge, given the set of the numbers and things like that, right? It just started with a $5 billion in 2011, and then getting to $30 billion in 2015, very huge growth, which is about 56% growth rate, which is pretty high. So given these things, right, and if you look at these trends, what is happening is the way that the social media is kind of getting exploded, that kind of started dictating how the commerce would look like on the online as well. Now, this is again an interesting insight from Nielsen, which is as latest as Q3 2011. So this indicates, if you look at here, right, I mean, the key thing which is there is the three different aspects that it indicates. One is the spending power, then other one is the influence that the customers are directly having on the retail products and brands, and then the social activity that is there. So if you look at the key thing, which is like in terms of spending power, most of the spending power which is there is on the retail side of the story. It's in the clothing, shoes, and accessories. People do spend, who are with social networking guys, they actually spend about 47%. That is pretty high. Music, you pretty much know, iTunes and whatnot people do go ahead and shop around. That's very high as well. The other thing which is here is the important aspect of that, which came out, is the influence. What it means is, if I, as a customer, go ahead and then purchase a product, or go ahead and then have an opinion on the product, because I become very active on the social network, my sharing has a lot more influence. If I share about a product, more likely not about the good reviews, but then more about the bad reviews of the product, that spreads much faster than the good reviews of the product. So that's where the influence that the customers are creating directly in using these social networks and the explosion that is happening in the social media, that is way too important, where retailers cannot ignore anymore. And the other thing which is there is a social activity. What people do, obviously it's more in terms of either people do follow a brand or people do follow a celebrity who is actually using that brand. So given all these three set of things, what we are looking at is more in terms of that there's going to be an immense amount of importance for the customers who are actually present in the social networks. And that is important for the retailers to go ahead and then leverage providing the very personalized experience for those kind of customers to go ahead and then boost up the sales, because they act as your own traditional salesman. And now given the influence factor, that is a lot more. And that's just not in U.S. As mentioned here. I mean, it's actually spread across the globe. That's what we're talking about. So with that said, with the social media exploding into the commerce, so let's go ahead and see what people have defined social commerce as. So the traditional definition that social commerce has been introduced by Yahoo is, it's a subset of electronic commerce that involves using social media. In the sense that, what they said is, using the social media, if you can actually go ahead and do the commerce, that becomes a social commerce. That's interesting, right? Now, that's one definition of that. There is another definition that Dr. Paul Maston has done. It's a very interesting definition of that. So it's a kind of intersection of the e-commerce and social media. It's in the same lines of Yahoo, but the key thing is that it's more, as an intersection intersection rather than as kind of combining together. It's kind of working hand in hand together with the social media and the e-commerce. Now, with that said, there are some of the good examples that most of the people have actually fostered the social commerce, including 1-800-Flowers, then American Eagle, AEO store, Dell, Best Buy, Amazon. All of these, they kind of fostered these social commerce solutions to go ahead and boost their online sales. With that, when we talk about social commerce, the two important aspects that come in the way of social commerce. One is a multi-channel strategy. Other one, which is there is a personalized shopping experience to the customers. When you talk about multi-channel strategy, the reason why multi-channel strategy cannot be ignored anymore is previously when the social media was not there or did not explode or was not at this level, what used to happen is you have a point of sale, you have an online presence, then probably you have certain set of call center catalog, mailing systems, and so that's the only touch point systems with the customer. Now, with the explosion of that, the two different things that have happened. One is A, the social networks have become a touch point. Then B, mobile has become a touch point. Now, with that, the customer is able to go ahead and do the commerce anytime, anywhere. That is the biggest aspect which needs to be taken into consideration when we talk about the multi-channel strategy. In the sense that, given that the customers are present, more like an omnipresent sort of a thing, the store also needs to take into account, the retail store needs to take into account that whether they need to go ahead and then take their products to where the people are and then sell them, or in the sense that then drag the people back into their store. So dragging the people back into their store from wherever they are is kind of proving to be a tough job. So it's more in terms of you go to the people and then keep selling where they are, and that's where the multi-channel strategy cannot be ignored anymore. Because again, figures from RSR research in July 2011, if you look at much of the things which if you look at the winners versus the laggards, this particular aspect of social network, the winners, were 71% time, and that's basically 71% times more effective than the laggards. That's what this indicates, and it's basically the way that they're proliferating. That's what it indicates. So if you look at that, this is a much bigger, sizable story for the retailers that cannot be ignored. And when I talk about multi-channel strategy, the two important aspects that come up in one is the Facebook, given the size of it and given the usage side of it. The second thing which is there is a mobile side of the story. Though Facebook commerce, when we talk about Facebook commerce, it's being actually setting up a store inside the Facebook. That's what we call as F-commerce. And then setting up a store on the mobile, that's what we call as M-commerce. F-commerce, M-commerce, both of them are kind of in their own infancy stages, if I say it right. So those are just beginning to start. But at the same time, if you look at the growth rate at which they're actually going after, that's pretty high. If you look at here, this is actually a channel advisor report. They're talking about, they did a survey through the shop.org, and then they figured out that the 46% are, it's a huge number. They're considering to go ahead and then put together stores in the Facebook. Though only 7% have actually made a purchase on Facebook, and 46% would consider it, which means that you cannot ignore that set of customers who has that much of influencing power to buy and influence. So you cannot ignore those. The second thing which is there is on the mobile side, with the tablets and with the mobiles getting into smarter side of the story, the biggest thing which is there is even the shopping goes in mobile. And as of today, the shopping applications that are downloaded in the mobiles is about the fifth or sixth. I mean, given that gaming is the first type of application that people do download, shopping applications are fifth or sixth that it stands. So given all that, the biggest thing that we're actually trying to go and look at the retailers is you cannot ignore, your multi-channel strategy. You have to go ahead and think about your multi-channel strategy right now today. Right? That's the biggest thing that we are thinking at. Given the Facebook, given the mobile, given the social media explosion, the biggest thing which is there is you can't be ignorant about your multi-channel strategy. You've got to go and then establish your stores in Facebook, in mobile, and at the same time leverage the social aspect of it to go ahead and boost your sales. So that's the key aspect to just go ahead and summarize in these slides. Now, when you look at multi-channel strategy, there are two major strategies that we look at. As I was mentioning, one is, you get the people to your store and then buy, which is what we call as helping people connect where they buy, which is using the social aspect of it on your store, and then kind of typically leveraging the social media on your store. So that's one aspect of it. The second aspect of it is helping people buy where they connect, in the sense that you take the whole store back to where people are actually there, are kind of hanging out, and that's where you go ahead and do it. And, take the example of Delta, take the example of Verizon Flowers, take the example of Starbucks itself. People they themselves have to move out and then open the store, including Victoria's Secret as well, right? So the bigger brands themselves have to go and then make themselves present on the places where the customers are actually hanging out. In this case, it happens to be on Facebook because that's the biggest one. So the two different strategies. One is you take the application of social commerce, which is basically taking social media on your own website or your own online store, and then have the people to go ahead and connect while they're buying, introduce the social aspects of it, propagate the influencing factor, and thereby increasing the two things. One is the new consumer acquisition, second, which is the existing consumer retention. The second strategy is to go ahead and take your online store back onto where the people are actually trying to hang out. So either taking the store onto the Facebook or onto the mobile. Now, till now we talked about the multi-channel strategy, and then how we can go ahead and then take the two different approaches that I was actually mentioning in terms of multi-channel strategy. Now, the second aspect of the second aspect of the social media explosion that has caused is the personalized recommendations. What has happened is with the explosion of the social media, the consumers get to know a lot more about the products, a lot more about the brands pretty well. The news travels much faster, and the expectations have grown so high that everybody wants to have a very personalized shopping experience. Like when you go to a site, when people want to have, they want to have a very personalized shopping experience for them, and that kind of thing is a very key ingredient in the social commerce itself. I'll tell you why it is. This is a very interesting statistic. So, when this is one of the research reports which people would look at it when how the consumers are searching for the product. Till last year, the interesting fact that came out was, which is pretty much known and probably you and me would have expected, is can I go to the search engines, find out about the product or the retailers, and then just go directly to the retailers. Now, read this. The interesting fact is from the last year, which was like in 2010, this actually was published in 2011. In last year, the searches now begin directly on retailers' websites at 16%. So that's a direct side of the story. So what it means is people are getting aware of the brands, and then they're directly getting to the retailer side of the story. Now, when they land up on your store, the biggest factor that comes back is whether your store or your website is being relevant to the users who are actually visiting your store or website. Now, what I mean by relevant? What I mean by relevant is, let's say that I'm actually going and then landing on let's say I pick up a store which is like abc.com. I go on abc.com. I go in and keep searching for a product, electronic product, which is like, let's say USB, 32 GB USB. When I start searching for it, am I getting the relevant products to be shown on the site or not? If I don't have the relevant products, I move out. The which is what we call as a kind of an abandonment or the bounce rate. So the key thing which is there is how do you make that? How do you reduce that? That's the biggest aspect that the website owners or the retail owners need to be retail owners who have the online presence need to be aware of. When the customers come in, what is that we present to them is a much more important aspect of the whole thing here. And that's where we're talking about being relevant on the website is more important. Now, this is again retail systems research, which did it. They went ahead and interviewed how does some of these technologies go and affect the sales and the value to the customer. If you look at here, much of the thing that came up is consumer product recommendations. What it means is when the consumer lands up on your web store or a website, the key thing which is being predicted here is more in terms of as long as you provide a very relevant product recommendations or the content to the user. That means you have the user engagement and you have the user buy-in, and you should be able to go ahead and then get to the transactionability pretty soon. So if you look at here, that's the highest, but there's a lot of value which comes in from here is the consumer product recommendations. Integration into the e-commerce and consumer product reviews. These are three different high-level things that kind of add a lot of value. Not just that, a downloadable mobile application. What it means is it actually is, the mobile shopping is even picking it up. So if you look at all of these four, the bigger thing that comes up is being, giving a very personalized shopping experience to the user when the user lands up on your retail store or the website is an utmost value. In terms of here, we're talking about product recommendations. In the sense here, the biggest thing that people are looking at is when I land up on your website, am I getting the right product or not? If I don't get the right product, I just move on. I just keep searching for the product that I want. But I want what I want as a consumer, and are you able to present it to me? That's the biggest thing that is being questioned here, and that's the biggest point that the retailers need to be aware of. And some more interesting insights in terms of personalized recommendations as a key to the social commerce. So sharing and social influence, both in US and UK, which is predominantly the biggest retail markets, that has been significantly growing up in terms of sharing and social influence. If you look at here, I like to shop with friends, and then when I see product I'm excited about, frequently I post a status on Facebook update, and more likely to purchase something if I see that a friend has recommended. You see this one? And this one. This is the more, growing trend, and this is the biggest thing that we see as a key to go ahead and boost your sales on the online stores. And that's where we have come up with what is called a SmartPrise commerce solution, which I'll introduce to you in a bit. So that SmartPrise social commerce solution addresses this aspect of how do you provide a very personalized experience to your shoppers. Right? And there's a bit of a negative feeling as well with respect to the personalized recommendations, which we think that over a period of time they'll go and fade away. That's just a map of maturity. The key thing which is there is here, if you look at the thing, it feels like a big brother was watching me. That's like more like, are you getting into more privy? That's a key thing. So the key thing which is there is when it's a thin line between how do you go ahead and then provide very personalized recommendations and very personalized shopping experience. That's a very thin line. So that's where we have what we have done is our SmartPrise commerce solution takes into account different aspects and kind of uses that as a bit of intent-driven and context-driven rather than more in terms of profile-driven based recommendations. So I'll talk about that in a bit when I go to the next slide. Definitely personalized recommendations are a bigger value. This is coming in from Patricia Sabol. That's the biggest thing is much of the retailers are actually talking about much of the B2B e-commerce application providers are actually even talking about the recommendation engine for social commerce. And that's kind of the same trend that's kind of being reiterated with the JWT report that you just now seen in the previous slide. This again from Nielsen to go ahead and reiterate that recommendations from people known and consumer opinions posted online, those are the ones which kind of have a high degree of influence or trust in the social commerce and the personalized social recommendations. So essentially what we talk about is personalized and social recommendation is a backbone of social commerce strategy. That is what we are kind of going with. Now, as a part of our SmartPrise social commerce solution, when you look at the social commerce, I just wanted to go ahead and introduce you in terms of a little bit of a high-level thing that Dr. Paul Matson has actually put together. So it's a very interesting dimension. It's a very interesting depiction of the whole social commerce. What he has done is he's actually kind of depicted social commerce into 6 different dimensions. One is the ratings and reviews, social shopping. Let me just give you some examples of ratings and reviews. Ratings and reviews, you look at Bazaar Voice, Power Reviews, all of these are kind of in this kind of play. Social shopping, you talk about Groupon, group gifting, living social, all of these are kind of in this area, in the social shopping area. Forums and communities, social media optimization, with the social ads and apps, there's another section. But there's a bigger piece, which is the recommendation referrals. What he has done is, he was trying to go and put together, he's also put together what is called the donut value of the whole thing, in the sense that how much of a positive value it can generate, how much of a value, from an implementation standpoint that he has put together. The donut value of this one, recommendations and referrals, is pretty high, in the sense that if there is a kind of a personalized recommendation that a system can give to the users, that can personalize the whole shopping experience. The very fact that, because it takes its friends in the account, the customer's friends in the account, and people who the customer can trust in the account, and that's where it can. The influencing factor is a pretty large factor, very high, that can go ahead and then turn the sales up by orders of numbers. This is exactly the area where we're actually talking about the SmartPrise social commerce actually works in the recommendations and referrals. Given that, right, let's just take a peek at the market challenges right now. So if you look at the traditional B2C businesses, including the retail, right, the biggest thing, the biggest problem that any of the retail web store, including the agency websites that are faced with, is transactability, consumer acquisition, and consumer satisfaction. So these are the 3 different aspects that we find that is more kind of critical to the retailers. Now, the reason why they struggle or to address our challenge, according to us, it's basically, retailers don't have a very good personalization strategy to go ahead and implement it. And including, when they talk about personalization strategy, it includes the multi-channel strategy as well, because you're actually taking that to a different customer. These are 2 different aspects which we're talking about. One is personalization strategy, which includes personalized recommendations and multi-channel strategy. Now, the key thing which is there is to address that, what we're talking about is providing a very personalized and relevant user experience or consumer experience to the shoppers, and then follow them on the social platforms where they are. So that's where the key thing that we're talking about is what we do from Xylo's standpoint. From this practice, what we do is we offer a personalized and social recommendation engine that can be enabled on your retail properties to go ahead and then power the social commerce and leverage it to go ahead and boost the sales. That's what we do. About ZSL, Xylo Systems is a 15 plus years old company that is actually it started off as a system integrator headquartered in New Jersey. Now expanded in 8 different countries and 4,000 people across the globe. Kind of put together lots of solutions, a lot of technology specializations, and highlight very much in the industry solution development as well. All the verticals spanning from insurance to finance, consumer electronics, pharmaceutical, telecom, and retail as well. Right. Now, some of the industry recognition, we are a VAR 500 consistently we've been getting in that. And also Tech Innovator, CRM Tech Innovator as well. So let me just quickly dive into what is SmartPrise Social Commerce. So SmartPrise Social Commerce, as I said, right, it's actually powered by a personalized and social recommendation engine. That's a product that we developed internally, and we do use that product, for another application, a consumer application that we have. It's called My Bundle. It is a smart personal assistant. That's exactly very similar, like Siri, what you find out in iPhone 4S for the mobile service story. But then what we figured out is while doing that application, the same technology, which is personalized and social recommendation engine, which is behind the scenes driving that application, could be used in social commerce as well, and that's exactly where we are actually coming in from. Using that engine, what it does is it sources relevant and personalized recommendations for your customer's need when it is enabled on your web property. In the sense that when it is enabled on your retail store, the moment the customers come to your retail store, online retail store, very personalized recommendations are actually provided when the customer is actually searching for, say, for a product, right? Or looking for certain set of coupons or offers or whatever. There is very personalized offers can be provided there. Now, with that, what happens is we'll be able to go ahead and deliver a very targeted, personalized shopping experience for that user. The second point is enhancing the social relevance through the personalized opinions and coupons from friends and social networks. So it enables even the social aspect as well. And then the influencing factor that we talked about, from the friends and things like that actually kind of rides on top of that. This whole engine rides on top of that. Essentially, what we're talking about is two key business benefits. The key business benefits that we're talking about is increasing the transactionability when the user lands up on your online retail store. And then, secondly, which is there is, consumer retention, because the key thing which is there is there are powerful viral loops that are embedded into the product, and that is one which actually acquires a new consumer base because of the influence again. So one is the transactionability, other one is the acquiring the new consumer base. These are the two different things that we talk about as key business benefits. Right. And it works on, again, from a multi-channel standpoint, it works on Facebook, smartphones, and whatnot. So we take this whole solution as a store, and then push it off to the different channels there. Now, let me just take a moment and then spend a brief moment on how does this engine work. So this particular engine, what we developed for the application that we just now talked about, it's a personalized and social recommendation engine. What it does is it takes 9 different aspects into account and drives quite an intent-based, context-driven personalization. What does that mean? When you talk about intent-based and context-driven personalization, what it means is, let's say that I as a customer land up on your retail store, right, online store. I'm looking for back, Jimmy Choo shoes, right? When I'm looking at a Jimmy Choo shoe, a black Jimmy Choo shoe, you might have like varieties of Jimmy Choo products that you're selling on your retail store. But the key thing is there is when I'm looking at that, I'm looking at more in terms of the likes of Jimmy Choo, where it could be at that same level, which is like, the shoes which are likes of Jimmy Choo, or it could be some accessories which go along with Jimmy Choo shoes. Like it could be jewelry products which go quite well with Jimmy Choo. So you can go ahead and take and mix and match based on your catalog. You can go ahead and push the products that are very much intent-based of the customer and very contextual to the customer. So that way, what happens is you are able to go ahead and do an upsell and a cross-sell pretty easily with this kind of personalization that you're driving at. Using this personalized social recommendation engine, what you do is you actually provide recommendation. You provide the shopper with very personalized recommendations, opinions from their own social networks, and maybe some targeted offers like coupons and things like that. Now, this is the reason why this particular engine is very different when you talk about intent-based and context-driven personalization is, as I said, right, previously when you talk about personalization, you've got to be you can't be completely profile-based. The reason why it is the moment you become a very profile-based, and which many of the people do, is like, let's say, for example, I expressed, shoes as, buying shoes as a kind of a hobby in Facebook, right? You take that as a profile information and you start doing that, it becomes much more biased and you get into the privacy issue. In the sense that you don't really feel that, somebody is kind of living through what you have been going through. So that's kind of a feeling you should not be able to get it. So that's the reason why when you look at intent-based and context-driven, these kind of change the whole thing. So there are 9 different aspects that we look at it, including the popularity, proximity, profile, peer influence, which is like how the friends are behaving, and how you yourself as a customer are behaving on the social networks, and a bit of surprise as well. All of this is taken into account. These 9 different parameters are taken into account when we go ahead and present a particular recommendation based on your catalog or an opinion or a coupon. So engine does take all of these accounts and arrives at a very context-driven personalization and a very intent-based personalization to the shoppers. Now, as a part of the SmartPrise commerce solutions, that's a product that we have, and then around that we're actually offering these solutions. When we talk about SmartPrise commerce solutions, these are 2 different things that we actually offer currently. One is for the retail, other one is for the online media. Right? When you talk about online media, it could be like news portals or any of that, likes of that. For the retail, what we're talking about is, if it's an SMB, what we actually looked at is we can actually go ahead and put together a complete commerce solution, which is socially enabled, and with the personalized recommendations for the customers that come up on your store. So let's say, for example, you are a very small-scale shop who wants to go online with a retail store. So what we can do is we can do an end-to-end establishment of the retail store with a social enablement and with the personalized recommendations for your customers. The second thing which is that is if you're actually operating on a Magento Commerce on the platform, you could go ahead and then download our personalization widgets, and you should be able to go ahead and then enable your store with a personalization experience. The third thing which is there is, if you have an online store, as a part of multi-channel strategy, as a part of your multi-channel strategy, you can actually go ahead and take it into a Facebook store and a mobile store as well. ZSL is a very big partner with IBM, and you're a customer of IBM, and then you're actually using IBM Smart Commerce Suite. We can actually bring in the personalization solution on top of the IBM Commerce, Smart Commerce solution as well. That's for the retail. For the online media, it's very interesting. The same technology could be applied for the online media as well in delivering the very personalized news, very socially enabled content, and something like relevant gossip, which we already have done. We have a customer in that one, which is live and running as well. If time permits, I'll go ahead and show that one as well. So just to show you how the kind of a demo store looks like, we have been talking about all of this in action in terms of social media, how it has exploded, the results of it, which turned out to be like multi-channel. You cannot be ignorant about multi-channel strategy, and then you need to be giving the personalized shopping experience to your shoppers, and how the SmartPrise commerce solution is helping to go ahead and get those 2 things done. What I just want to show you is take a moment and then show you how that is in action currently, and then how that can be done. So let me just go ahead and then bear with me. This is So this is a simple demo store that we have done, using our technology and then SmartPrise commerce solution. So let's go and then say this is kind of an accessory store. So let's go ahead and search for this one. Let's say sunglasses and that. So when I say this, when typically this is this is what could happen to your retail store as well. The user comes in and looks for it. what happens is when the moment you go ahead and the moment the customer does that, right, the biggest thing which is there is you have to present very relevant products that can either be sold together or it can be kind of an add-on or a cross-sell and upsell. If you look at here, there are multiple things that came up, right? You asked for sunglasses and it actually picked up the sunglasses as well. In addition to that, there are some sort of cross-sell products that actually have come up with the bags and accessories. So this is based on behind the scenes. What has happened here is when you look at this particular one, it actually went in, the behind the scenes, the engine actually has worked out, and then on your retail catalog, in this case, it happens to be on the SmartPrise retail catalog, it picked up the relevant products and then got those products. And not just that. If you look at here, these are all kind of the ones that are socially enabled. Let me just pick up this one and say, get me an opinion on this one. When I say get me an opinion on this one, what happens is this is where it actually goes around, and is there any of the kind of things that are being talked about in the social networks, like let's say in this case it actually picked up from Twitter and FriendFeed, it gets in the very relevant set of opinions that people are talking about publicly about this particular product. Not just that, you can actually even go ahead and then get the opinions from Facebook friends. Currently this is not enabled, but you definitely can go ahead and then when you click on this one, you should be able to go ahead and then get your friends and get the opinions from them as well. That is the very powerful thing wherein the influence becomes a lot more interesting aspect to go ahead and get the sale through. Right? And not only that, you can actually go ahead and then, this is also socially enabled. I can just go ahead and then say, use my Facebook login to get into the store as well. The moment I do that, right, as a login into the store using my Facebook account, the whole connectivity, the whole social network, which on my personal network is, I actually, the whole effect of that can be taken advantage. Let's take this same thing again, right? Let's take this one. So I just want to go ahead and then say shout out, planning to buy this. The moment I do that, right, let me just show you, it goes into my Facebook page and everybody can see that in here. Everybody can see that, they can comment on it, and there's a whole lot of social aspect that comes in. So what we did is we've taken a traditional retail web store, okay, enable it with social, and enable that with the personalized shopping experience with the personalized recommendations that you just saw, right? That's what is about the demo store. Now, given all that, are you ready to adopt the social commerce, and what are the next steps? At this point in time, I just wanted to leave a few thoughts with you, given the insights that we have shared with you on the social commerce, and then also what we do with this SmartPrise social commerce solution. We can get a strategic assessment, how to enable your store on Facebook and mobile, which is a multi-channel strategy as well. So that's a freebie that you can actually go ahead and then take it from us. A pilot study, how to give your customers a personalized shopping experience. This also we can pretty much go ahead and then work with you and then help you to see how we can actually go ahead and then personalize your shopping experience. And if you're definitely not convinced yet, what you could do is just a while ago, I showed you a demo store. You want that store to be seen with your catalog and with your product, with your setup. Like, we will definitely go ahead and then set up that demo store and then give you an access so you can play with it, feel for it, and see how it can improve and then how it can kind of resonate with your customers. Okay, and then see how we can get the SmartPrise social commerce solution implemented for your retail stores. With that said, thank you very much for your time. And again, I'm Bharat Yadla, You can always reach me at bharaty@zslinc.com if you have any questions. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you have at this point of time.
Thank you, Bharat. The Q&A session is now open. You can post your questions on the chat window that's present on the right-hand side of the screen. So we have got a few questions coming on this chat window. So one is from where does the engine fetches these recommendations and opinions, and how this could be tailored for a newly launching product?
Okay. So this, the recommendation engine can get the opinions from multiple sites. It could be, as I showed it to you, right? And it could be from Twitter, Facebook, SendFeed, and it can be definitely tailored. For example, if you're a retail store and then you are looking at a certain set of your own community that has a set of the opinions that you're actually fostering or the content that you're fostering, and you want that content to be brought in, absolutely we can go ahead and integrate that. That's part of the solution building for your retail store.
Thank you, Bharat. So one other question is, so how much time does it usually take for getting the solution live?
Okay. That's a very good question. Actually, when we talk about implementation of the solution, right, I mean, there are two parts to it. One, we talk about a multi-channel implementation, which is either taking a store and then putting it into Facebook or mobile, or getting your complete store done. So I'll take bits and pieces of it, and then I'll just go ahead and answer each of those. First one, when you talk about if you don't have a store and then you want to have a retail store to be enabled online, along with the personalized shopping experience as you've seen, it has two parts. One thing is there is an initial part where we have to go ahead and customize and implement it to you. It doesn't take more than 8 to 12 weeks. I mean, that's the reasonable time that we should be able to go ahead and get any reasonable store. Depending on, of course, it depends on a number of parameters like your catalog, the kind of personalization that you wanted to give to the experience that you wanted to give to your users and things like that. But anywhere between 8 to 12 weeks is what you're actually looking at. Definitely not months, but in weeks span, you should be able to go ahead and get it through. But just enabling the store, if you already have a store and then just enabling it on Facebook or on mobile, it's a lot more simpler. But the key thing which is there is on top of it, we do go ahead and then recommend to use the personalized shopping experience on top of it. The reason is because when you're expanding your multi-channel strategy, you should be able to go ahead and use that to your advantage of providing the personalized shopping experience. So that's pretty much about, like, when you talk about the timelines, when the initial implementation of the solution is anywhere between 8 to 12 weeks, depending on the type, the amount of catalog, the amount of SKUs that you have in the product, versus the kind of the personalization that you want to give your shoppers.
Okay. So how much does the solution cost?
Okay. So the cost-wise, the solution has two different components. One is the customization, as I said, the customization piece that we talk about, like anywhere between 8 to 12 weeks. That's the kind of the solution implementation cost. That's a one-time cost for implementing that solution for your retail store. The second cost is kind of a recurring cost, which is for licensing the engine, that's the personalization engine, along with the social commerce aspect of it. So licensing that engine, that is another piece to it. So it depends again, as I said, right? When the first one is depending on 8 to 12 weeks, how much does it cost? Depending on that. The second thing which is there is a recurring cost. That recurring cost, it varies again, depending on how many number of components that you need to go ahead and do it for providing the type of personalization that you wanted to go ahead and give it to your shoppers. So these are two different pieces. These are two different components in the cost. But we can definitely, if you're interested, we can definitely go ahead and then, work it out with you and then see how that kind of fits in these two. These are two different components. One is a one-time cost for implementing the solution. The second one is a licensing cost. That is a recurring cost. That's definitely not a huge numbers, but then, it's a variable number, so that's where we'll be more happy to go ahead and work with you on case-by-case basis for each of the retail stores.
Any questions? We can post it on the chat window. So one more question is there. So how does this personalization work?
Sorry, can you repeat that question, Sugalya?
Yeah, it is. How does the personalization work?
Okay. How does the personalization work? That's a very good question again. As I shared with you, right, let me just go back to this slide. The way that personalization works is it actually takes in these 9 different parameters of the user, of a particular user. Like say, if I'm a login user, like I just logged in into my Facebook account, if I log in and then it's me as Bharat, and there's a lot of information about me in Facebook, in the context and the need that I was looking at, like, sunglasses under $100, then, the proximity itself, what my past usage is, all of these it takes into account. And there's a very complex set of algorithms that the engine uses. In fact, and this is where we actually, when we started looking at it, right, when, as I said, right, this engine was developed for an application that was much like Siri and iPhone 4S type of application for Android mobile application. But then the key thing which is we saw that the same technology could be used for social commerce very well as well. Now the key thing which is there is all of these parameters are being studied as a part of the behavioral analysis for the user. So these 9 different parameters kind of add up to a complex profile, what we call as a relevance graph. So every user, what we look at it is the engine looks at what is called the relevance graph of a user. So all of these 9 parameters kind of rope up into relevance graph, for lack of a better term. I'm just talking about that. And it gets roped up and then gets combined, into one single thing, which is called the relevance graph. And that relevance graph determines what are the types of things that a particular user might like. And you go ahead and then use those recommendations. That is one aspect of it. Not just that, by empowering that with the social aspect of it, your friends and personal networks actually drive a lot more influence on what you buy, what you shop, right? So that's a whole different angle that we're trying to bring up. So it's a combination of the technology which we're talking about, plus the bringing in the social aspect, which we call as the whole thing is what we call as a social intelligence. That is what is driving the personalization here.
Interesting. So any questions? You can post it on the chat window. So we'll wait for a couple of minutes. Okay. So for any additional questions, please feel free to email us anytime at info@zslinc.com or call us at 732-549-9770. The recording of this webinar will be posted on ZSL's TV and webinar page. So I thank you all for joining us on today's webinar. Thank you.
Thank you.